Hello and welcome to another episode of the Dumb and Dumbest podcast with my beautiful, wonderful, radiant, glorious, disciplined, balding, aging, modeled co-host Curtis Dewar and me, Matt Bacon. This is a music industry podcast where everything is terrible and the house is on fire. Today we are talking about...
We're talking about festivals and networking and all sorts of stuff like that, which Matt is super excited about, as you can tell from the tone of his voice.
Yeah, I'm super exhausted. We had Prophecy Fest this weekend. And while
And
it was...
Matt networked a shit ton while he was there, if you were watching any of his bacon bits.
I mean, sure, we'll call it that. I will say I was pleasantly surprised with the caliber of individual who came out. Special shout outs to Ben Umanov and Kat Jones.
High quality people.
People of the highest stock. So, what I wanted to talk about with festivals is, A, you can't just do one. Like, it's not just a big show. You can throw a big show, and there's lots of people, I think, who turn big shows, like, year by year into festivals. But I think it's important to kind of realize the difference. And I think it's also important to realize where the draw is going to be. And, you know, figuring out the formula to maximizing draw is tricky because you can't just toss on a cult band with a reasonable appeal and expect them to come out, because guess what? With that cult band, you know, like, people are not paying $60 just to see them. I think that was a big lesson we learned.
Which cult band was that people...
Well, like there'd be a band like Crowhurst, and Crowhurst is pretty different from a lot of the other things on Prophecy Fest, you know, which is fine. But when it comes down to it, like, nobody's spending $60 just to see Crowhurst when they're very much sort of a punk band.
Yeah, I agree on that.
You know what I mean?
Surprised at the same time, because I would have thought they would have had a bigger draw, but hey, whatever.
Oh, no. Crowhurst have a big draw, but just not for $60.
I see.
You know, and I don't blame their fans at all. You know, but these, I think, are the important things to think about. Like, you know, because people aren't here to cut you some slack and give you second chances. You need to convince people why they absolutely need to be spending money at your shindig.
Yep.
You know, and it's very, very hard to get people to come out to normal shows, much less a show where they have to be there even longer and pay more money.
I agree. So what would be the successful way of doing a festival, in your opinion, that you're going to try next time, Matt?
Well, I think we were very successful this time around, especially because there's a lot of difficulty with running U.S. festivals, broadly speaking. You know, I would give ourselves a solid, like, 7 out of 10, maybe.
How do you think you can get yourself to an 8 or 9?
How I can get to an 8 or 9, though, is primarily, I think, if we spent time and energy, I think if you have two headliners who are, I think November's Doom wasn't as big a draw as Alcest was, and I think that showed.
Yeah.
Simultaneously, the issue is that, you know, cranking out an appropriate budget is very hard. And I'm also increasingly of the opinion that if you're running a label, you really shouldn't be running events too, just because I think you don't want anyone to feel slighted.
Yeah.
Not that anyone felt slighted, but it's definitely something you have to take in consideration more when you're the label as opposed to when you're just the promoter.
Yeah.
You know, like suddenly you have skin in the game, as it were.
Yeah, totally. Probably would have helped if you guys would have had a headliner like Megadeth, though, eh?
It would have helped if I had a headliner like Megadeth. I was asked to do a favor for Dave Mustaine, which is what Curtis is referring to. But anyway,
what was the favor, Matt? Are we allowed to say what the favor was?
Yeah, whatever. I'm currently looking for people to give shout outs to Dave Mustaine for the first anniversary of his Gimme Radio show. But I don't know, but it's already going to be done by the time you guys hear this. Anyway.
So shout out to Dave Mustaine, who will not be headlining Prophecy Fest at any point in time.
Yeah, because I only book good bands on Prophecy Fest.
Which Megadeth is amazing and one of the best bands of all time, I want to point out. But Matt doesn't think so, even though...
I think Megadeth is terrible and needs a better singer. And
Matt's just wrong and is upset about the fact that he was 20 years behind Megadeth in their prime.
Okay, Curtis, I'm sorry that you have bad taste, but like it does cause me physical pain. I am genuinely upset.
If there was no Dave Mustaine, there wouldn't have been a Prophecy Fest. That's all I'm going to say.
I feel like your understanding of the history of metal is incredibly flawed. Now, the other thing I think that people responded to very well at Prophecy Fest was that we gave away tote bags to the bands or to the people who showed up early.
That's cool.
And this actually ended up being hugely valuable because it encouraged people to buy more merchandise.
Yeah.
And, and that obviously means more money for the bands because they had somewhere to hold it. And I think that was really cool, and I think a lot of people ended up showing up early because they wanted this exclusive, silly one-off piece of merch, which is frequently, you don't often get that with a festival. Like,
nope.
I think, again, you're asking someone to be there longer and pay more.
Yeah.
So you need to load it down with incentives. And when it comes down to it, the tote bags for the first 100 people who walked through the door cost us like $200, which was less than pretty much any band.
You guys probably made like $10,000 worth of merch sales as a result of giving those.
Exactly. I don't have the exact figures to head, but that's exactly the strategy. Is like, look, if we can fuel the merch sales, if we can give back to the bands more and create more of an experience, then that's a valuable thing. And
100%.
And I think that there's a lot of people who take inspiration from a festival like Roadburn, which is brilliantly curated and really like carefully done and very much just as much a work of art as any of the people they're showcasing. Yeah. And I think people forget that a big part of what makes Roadburn special is that there's a ton of other stuff integrated, and this is something that I really wish other bands or other festivals kind of recognizes. You're not Roadburn, but there is traction, but you can get traction in that way by bringing in artists, which is something I wanted to do if we had more time, or bringing in vendors and really making it an experience and a lifestyle thing as opposed to just a show.
I agree. Now, on those words, I think we should probably wrap up since I know you got a call in a couple of minutes.
Yes. What do you have to plug, Curtis?
I have a lot of stuff to plug, but I think the main thing I'm going to plug today is that Volteric Eye just released their new EP yesterday on a Monday, believe it or not. I'm not sure why they did it in that day, but it's a great EP, 3 tracks. It's kind of like a combo between Judas Priest, Black Sabbath, and Iron Maiden all rolled into one. If you're smart, you'll check it out, and you'll love it.
Absolutely. That sounds like exactly my cup of tea. For me, I no longer have to plug Prophecy Fest on this fucking thing, so I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I'll just go with
Webinar.
House of Broken Promises announcing on Dropout merch, which I think is pretty cool.
Yep.
So anyway, thank you for listening. Take care. This was a short episode, but I think full of valuable content.
Webinar.
Have a positive impact.
Listening to me. Are we done yet?